Hello everyone, today we'll be making these super cute Hello Kitty mini cakes. We're going to begin by making an egg yolk mixture by combining 3 egg yolks, 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar, 2 tablespoons of oil, 2 tablespoons of milk, but if you don't have milk you can also use water, and a half teaspoon of vanilla extract. Mix it together until it is thoroughly blended. Once it's blended, we're going to take a half cup of cake flour and sift it into our mixture. If you don't have cake flour, below is a way to make cake flour using regular flour and cornstarch. Continue mixing until all of the ingredients are thoroughly combined. It'll take about 6 to 8 minutes. If that's a long time, a hand mixer can be used instead of a whisk. Once completed, set the egg yolk mixture aside. Now we're going to work on our egg whites mixture. We're going to take 3 egg whites and combine it with 3 tablespoons of granulated sugar. Mix the egg whites on high speed. Once it gets kind of bubbly and frothy looking, start adding in the granulated sugar. We're going to add in the sugar slowly, in around 4 to 5 increments. So basically, add some sugar, let it mix, and then add some sugar and let it mix again until all of the sugar is incorporated into the egg whites. Continue beating until soft peaks are formed. It should take about 3 to 4 minutes. Now we're going to bring back the egg yolk mixture and fold in the egg whites. Add the egg whites to the mixture in small portions. We're going to fold it about 10 to 12 times in between each increment. We don't want to overmix it because it'll take out too much air from the egg whites, and that's how our cake is going to rise. Once the folding is completed, it should look light and puffy like that dog Pom Pom pudding. Now we're going to pour the mixture onto a quarter-size baking sheet lined with parchment paper. Spread the mixture until it is even all the way around. An offset spatula will help get into the corners and the sides of the pan. Once finished, bang the pan a couple of times to get the air bubbles out. Place it into the oven at 350 degrees for about 12 minutes. When done, bang it on the counter a little so that it doesn't shrink so much. Next, take a knife or offset spatula to release the cake from the sides of the pan. Take a sheet of parchment paper and place it over the pan. Now, get a cooling rack and place it over the parchment paper. If the pan is still hot, use a towel or oven mitts so that you can flip the pan onto the cooling rack without burning yourself. Allow the pan to cool a little so that you can lift it up and release the cake onto the parchment paper. Next, remove the parchment paper from the cake. Now we're going to get a different sheet of parchment paper and place it on top of the cake. Take a cutting board and place it on top of the parchment paper and flip the cake onto the cutting board. Then remove the parchment paper from the cake. Next, cut the cake in half the long way. We flip the cake so many times because we're going to put the filling on this side so that the nicer side of the cake will be showing. For the filling, we're using a lemon buttercream and raspberry preserves. We're going to spread them on in a thin layer so that the cake doesn't get too thick. Be sure that the filling is spread evenly on both sides. Once completed, we're going to flip one side on top of the other. Then we're going to take a sheet of cellophane and then wrap the cake up and place it in the freezer for about 2 hours. Once the cake has hardened, we're going to use this Hello Kitty cutter to cut the cake. This part gets a little bit messy because the thickness of the cookie cutter is just about as thick as the cake. So when we press in the cookie cutter, we're going to have to lift the cake up and then push it out from the cookie cutter. And since the cake is nice and firm from being in the freezer, it won't be smushed when we push the cake out. We'll be able to make 4 Hello Kitty faces from this amount of cake. Set them aside as we work on the glaze. To make the glaze for our Hello Kitty cakes, we're going to use 8 ounces of white chocolate chips and a half cup of heavy cream. We're going to melt the chips by placing them in the microwave for 30 seconds in 2 increments for a total of 1 minute. We're going to continue to mix the chocolate chips until they are all melted and there is a nice and smooth texture. Now I'm going to take a half cup of cream that I put in the microwave for about 5 seconds so it warms up. I'm going to pour it into the chocolate chip mixture and I'm going to use a hand mixer to blend it together. Oftentimes when I add in the cream to the chocolate chips, it seems to make it chunk up again. So by using the hand blender, it seems to break up the chunks a little faster than if I would mix it with a spatula. I'm not going to use the hand mixer for a long time because it could become overmixed and break the mixture, and then it will become grainy. If it does become overmixed, you can put it back together, and I have the details below. Once it's nice and smooth, we're ready to glaze our cakes. To glaze the cake, I put a piece of the Hello Kitty cake onto a spatula, and I'm just going to spoon the glaze right over it. This method will allow me to put glaze on the top of the cake as well as on the side of the cake. After each cake is glazed, I'm just going to set them on a piece of parchment paper, but you can also use a cooling rack. After glazing all of the cakes, we're going to place them back into the freezer to allow the glaze to cool and set. Once the glaze is set, they can be easily handled and plated and ready for decorating. We'll be using pink bows and black and yellow buttercream to decorate our cake. We also have a pick and tweezers. We're going to start by taking a pink bow and placing it on the right side of the cake where you can see an outline of the bow area. Gently press on the bow to ensure that it stays on. Next, take the black buttercream and start making the whiskers. I usually start by piping in the middle whisker on the middle of the side of her face, and then I just draw the whiskers from there. Once one side is done, I just go to the other side, starting with the middle whisker, and try to make it even with the other side's middle whisker, and then just go from there. For the eyes, I'm going to pipe them between the top whisker and the middle whisker. I'm going to pipe the eyes out on both sides and then use the pick to try to make them symmetrical. Lastly, we're going to take the yellow buttercream and place a dot between Hello Kitty's eyes, towards the bottom of her eyes. Then we're just going to spread it out so it's a nice cute oval. And now we're done with making Hello Kitty's face. Isn't it so cute? Once we're done with decorating all of the cakes, we're going to serve them with some tea. This cake tastes so good you'll want to eat all 4 of them and make more. We hope you enjoyed watching the video. Thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful day.